Hey guys, what's up? This is KrazyDev here, and we're back with another video. Welcome to the first video of a series where we're making a overhead shooter game using TurboWarp's new extension, CloudLink. I recommend you watch my last video. I actually showed you guys the basics using CloudLink and sending data. I don't actually recommend making that project. There's a bug in it, but luckily, shout out to the TheKrazyDev, the guy who made this extension. He commented on the video and actually helped me figure it out. It was super simple, and I was thinking you're going to have to spend some money and buy a server, but you don't. A link to the CloudLink GitHub will be in the description, so if you want to check it out, just check the description and go check out the GitHub. Right before we start, I'm going to ask you guys, if you guys do end up finding this video helpful or enjoy the video, please consider subscribing. Only 100 out of 18,000 people subscribed to my last video, which is 17,900 people who didn't subscribe. So that's quite a few people who didn't subscribe, and we're super close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to support me, please consider subscribing. Anyways, that's enough for me, and we're gonna get on with the video. Okay, so first things first, we have a sprite here. We'll just use this in the meantime, and I'm gonna call this our network manager. This because it's gonna be the guy or sprite that first handles us joining our game when we start. Now, I do want to say I recommend going back and watching my last video where I actually showed the basics of CloudLink, but I do recommend not actually fully making it because there are some problems I didn't know about until testing it later. Basically, the data you sent on the server could get sent to anybody connected to that server, and that means even for people from other projects. But luckily, the developer of the extension actually commented on the video explaining that you just need to use rooms, which I didn't think that's how they'd work, but that's how it works, so that's pretty cool. So shout out to the developer. Okay, so first things first, we need to handle actually joining the first game server. I'm gonna break this down into 3 chunks, so it's much easier to understand and see. But first, let's do this. First things first, we're going to connect to the game server, but I need to add a CloudLink to my project. Okay, there we go. And what we need is the connect to server block, which is right there. And if you want to have a free server or something, or not have one, but use one of CloudLink's free server, all you need to do with this connect to server block is either type in 1 or type in 2. And make sure you're not using the connect to, make sure it's connect to server. I heard 1's better, I'm not sure if that's true, but let's just do it anyways. Next, you're going to need a wait until block. Also, if you're wondering how I'm searching for blocks, it's a thing of TurboWarp. You can just press Control Space and it'll pull it up. Anyways, wait until, I'm going to grab an OR block here. And we're going to wait until either we're connected or we failed to connect. So we're going to connect to the server and then wait until we're connected or we failed to connect to the server. Then we're going to grab an if then else block. And we're going to check if we're connected. If so, we're going to say hello for 2 seconds. We're not going to actually say hello, we're going to say connected to the game server. And we're going to probably remove this later because this is just mainly for debugging to make sure we're coding everything correctly. But yeah, next I'm just going to grab a normal say block. And if it's wrong, we're going to actually want to say status code. And status code, basically, if you have an error, this status code will equal that error. And basically, if we're not connected, that means we failed to connect. So then we can just say status code. So yeah. Next, I'm going to stop the whole project afterwards. Okay, so that's it. That's all you need to do for joining the server. You can test it by running the project. It's going to ask you for permission to actually connect to a server. I'm just going to allow, and as you can see, it says connect to the game server. So that's sweet. Okay, next, we need to set up our username to start doing some other stuff. Which is pretty easy. So I'm going to do it over here. I'm not going to make it the same block so you can see it pretty clearly. So yeah. Next, you want to search for a reset got new status code status. But when you scroll through in CloudLink, it's going to look more like reset got new global data status. But we're just grab that and then swap it to status code. This will just reset if we have any errors, so we can redetect them. So yeah. So we're going to reset that, and then we're going to ask the player, not what's your name, but we'll just tell them, enter a username. Like so. Now later we're going to probably limit it, the username length, just so data packets can stay within a certain size, so you don't have people like 20 size length words trying to send data packets. That just makes it slower. For now, we're fine with whatever you do. Okay, so we do that. Next, we're going to grab the set username to set a username as username, but instead we're going to set answer. And then we're going to wait until, again, sorry, okay, there we go. Wait until, and we're going to wait until either username synced or got new status code, like so. So we're going to wait until that, and then we're going to grab an if else block, and then we're going to check if our username is synced. If so, we can just duplicate the say block from up here, and we're going to say username was set, and then we want to actually store a username in a variable so we can use it later for sending data. So I'm going to create a new variable, username, set username equal to answer. Otherwise, we're going to just duplicate up here and say status code, and then stop the project. And then last but not least, this is going to fix you sending data to everybody's projects. We're going to join a room first, but first we're going to need to get ID type thing for our project. And we want to make sure that nobody can guess this, so I highly recommend going and grabbing a UUID, which all you need to do is go to the UUID generator website. As you just go to UUIDgenerator.net. A UUID is a long string of text and numbers, just to make a ID that nobody would probably be able to guess, because like if you can guess this, then man, that's crazy, but still. And then every time you come here, it'll generate a brand new one that it's never generated before. So just copy it, and then come back and create a new variable called game ID, or I'll just do game ID, and set game ID equal to, paste in your ID and set it. Okay, there we go. So now we have our game ID right here. We're going to go reset, got new status code again. Then we're going to go link to rooms, and this requires a JSON array. So let me pull my notes up, make sure I'm doing this correctly. Yep, okay. And this requires a JSON array. If you don't know JSON, then it's fine. We can just add the JSON extension to make this easier. Another extension that got added to the new TurboWarp, and this will actually help us send data later, so you're gonna have to add this anyways. Next, we're gonna create a new JSON array by grabbing the new block here, create a new array, and then come to the array section on the JSON and add TurboWarp to array blank. We're going to put our new array, and instead we're going to add our game ID, like so. And then once we do that, we're going to want to wait until, like always. So wait until, or connected, or not connected, linked to rooms. So we're going to want to check if we're linked to rooms or got new status code, like so. Then we're going to obviously go have another if then else block, check if we're linked to the room, and then if so, we can come over here and say username was set. And don't actually want to say username was set, we want to say connected to game room. And I'm going to set this to 1 second so they don't have to keep waiting. Otherwise, we're going to say the status code and then stop the whole project. Connect these all together like so, and make sure the username is after you connect the server, but before you link to the rooms. Linking to the rooms requires a username, so make sure you do that. I'm going to run this project to see if it works. Connect to the game server, enter username, Billy Bomb, sure, why not? Billy Bomb. Username is set, connected to the game room, and boom. So it worked, which is fantastic. I'm going to hide this game ID here, and we can create our player sprite here. I'm going to name it player, and I'm going to create a player sprite here. Okay, I made a little player sprite here, which will, again, will just be our player. I'll actually scale him up, he's kind of rather small, like so. Next, I actually don't want to have a sprite for this network guy. We don't want to see him. So yeah, okay, there you go. So you have our player here. Let's make some simple movement. You can do whatever you want. I'm just gonna jump forward and show my code. But yeah, you can do whatever movement script you want. Just make a movement script. Okay, so I have my movement script here. If I start the game, and you'll see, I will move my character around. Oh, forgot to add one more thing here to my movement script. Change by. Okay, as I start the game, I can move my character. Like so. Forget to change that. That's why I'm to move my character around. I just realized I still have my project settings. If you want, you can change your project settings to be 60 FPS interpolation, which I recommend interpolation, infinite clones, and remove fencing. These will just turn off the limit on clones and remove fencing, because obviously TurboWarp can run more than 300 clones, and it's just kind of a dumb limit. But this is basically what make your game run faster. As you can see, much smoother than that really choppy 30 FPS. Anyways, so yeah, I highly recommend that setting. Though, anyways, I have my movement code here. You can copy if you want, but you need to do one thing in the movement code. I recommend putting an if around it, and only starting this if we're linked to any rooms. So if we're linked to rooms, then do your movement code, and that just means people can't be moving around before they're actually connected to the game server. And then technically they could get a head start on positioning compared to other people. But again, that's kind of just nothing. Okay, so next we're going to create a new variable called here data packet. This is going to be storing what we are going to send for our player data. I had velocity X. So let's make a new block here called update player packet. Run without screen refresh and come over here. Next, we're going to set variable data packet to, and instead of being 0, we're going to set it to a new JSON object. If you don't know what JSON object is, it's kind of just like a list from Scratch, but instead of having the values in it be assigned a number, so instead of like the first item being 0, you could give them names. Example, I could have a item, or let's say we could have our an item in our list that it's X position equals and then the value instead of being a number like lists have. And you can set these, they're called keys instead of just having their assigning numbers. So example, I'm going to set the key in the JSON object to this value. And so I'm going to set data packet equal to, and then I'm going to grab data packet and we're going to set the key in data packet equal to something else. But instead we're going to set the ID of this data packet equal to our username we set earlier. Like so. And now, when we do this, we'll add a ID attribute to our data packet. Next, we can duplicate this and also set the type of this data packet. And we're going to say player data. And this is just so we can send different types of data and not always think that that data is always for player data. So we can send other stuff such as just like, oh, such and such got a kill. So it's not going to be like, oh, let's try moving them to this position just because they got a kill or something. Next, we're going to set the X of this equal to this person's X position. And then do the same thing for the Y. Set to the Y position. And if I look at my notes here, this should be everything. Yep, that's really it. Okay, once you do that, we can come over here and we'll go and if I clicked forever if linked to rooms, we're going to update player packet, and then we're going to send this player packet variable. So look for the send block, or you can search it. It's right here. And what we're going to do is send player, or send the data packet. And make sure you put a second or a delay after it, or you can overload the server. This means, yes, it will have a delay, but this keeps the server from freaking out. If you want, you can shrink it, maybe dig 0.05. Well, that's good or not. But let's just do that for now. And again, we'll make things later down the road to make scripts, or not scripts, but like make stuff to make it smoother for our player moving. I'm also make our player point in the direction of my mouse just for game niceness. But anyways. Okay, next what we're gonna do is actually trying to look at my notes here. Okay, so right now we're gonna do this, but we need to instance or create a new clone for the player who has just joined. So for that, what we're going to do here is we're going to go when I receive global data. We're going to do an if statement here. We're going to go if, and we're going to have to grab, I think, 3 ands. Yeah, grab 3 ands here, or 2, I mean, my bad. Put them inside of each other. And first things first, we're going to have to check if not value of, so come in here, it should be in this JSON strings area, value of key, and then this JSON object here. We need to check it, make sure that the value ID in global data, and again, if you don't know what global data or any of this stuff, just go watch my last video. But we need to check if the value ID in global data is equal to, and then our username. This will basically make sure that the data packet that was just sent isn't us who sent that data packet. So we want to check and make sure that this data is not us who sent it. Okay. And then we actually need to create a new list here. This is going to store every player that's currently in the game. So make a list called players, create it, And then what we need to also check is make sure that value of ID in global username, or global data I mean, is not contained in our players list. So grab another knot. And then last but not least, we need to double check that this is actually some player data. So grab this equals again, you can just duplicate from over here, and basically just want to again check if value, instead of ID, we want to check if the type is equal to player data. Remember, we did this earlier up here, we set type and data packet equal to player data. So store that over here, and I'll make sure this is true. We don't want to not this. So basically we want to check if the value ID is not equal to our username, so it's not us who sent this. Make sure that our list does not contain this player already, and that this type is a player data type. If so, then we want to go like this. Drag this if statement or long statement into this if block here, and pull my notes up again. Come on. Okay. If so, then we're going to want to add this player to it. So grab add value ID in global data to players, and then create a clone myself. Okay, and once you do that, let's grab a when I start as clone and do our clone code. Okay, so create a new variable for this clone, make a new variable for this array only, and call it ID. Then what we want to do is set ID equal to value of ID in global data. Being that we just created this inside of this when I receive data, global data, this we shouldn't be too slow to set our ID to the ID of what we're supposed to be setting to. After this, then we should go forever block, and then we're going to have to check if the value again is player data of the current thing. So I forgot to grab the if block here. So we go forever if player, grab the equals over here. I'm going to duplicate this to save time. So if value of type in global data is equal to player data, and value of ID in global data is equal to not username but our ID, so this clone's ID. So the person who sent this data right here is this clone, or the player this clone is supposed to be. Then do this next code, and then we're going to want to go if, and we want to go inside of our JSON function and grab a key value contains key, and it wants us to check if global data contains X, and if it contains a Y. Grab an and, put them both in here, and then if so, we want to grab value X and Y, and we're going to want to glide to that position. Now obviously we're not going to always do this because it has a bigger delay and it doesn't actually look super smooth. We're going to add some stuff to make it look smooth down the road, but for now this is just to get the multiplayer working. So I'm adding a delay of 0.1 seconds to kind of just give it some time to actually glide. And then next we want to come to if and put it outside of this other if statement, so just inside of the forever loop, and we're going to check not if this ID is connected, or ID another name connected is what it shows up as. You can just find it in here again. ID blank connected, it basically allows us to check if this person is currently connected, and we want to check if this clone, or the player this clone is supposed to be, is connected. So we're going to go if ID connected, then we're going to want to, or not connected, so we're trying to see if he's not connected. Then we're going to actually remove item, and then we're going to grab the ID, and this will remove this player from the players list earlier. Then we're going to go control delete this clone. So basically, if this person that this clone is supposed to be is no longer connected to the game, remove that player from the players list and then delete this clone because he's no longer in our game. And then outside of both of these, just inside the forever loop, we're going to always save this clone's ID so we can see people's username. And that's it for multiplayer. Super simple, or for the most part, I recommend just looking at this, messing around with it, testing it. But yeah, so if you want to test it, come up here, go to File, and then Package your project, and then you can run multiple instances in your browser. So yeah. Once you exported your game, you should have a HTML file in your files like this one. Again, this is part 1 of multiplayer game, because that's what this game is. And it's a .html file. Double click it, it'll open up in your browser, and you can drag each one, and you'll have 2 different windows to test it on this one computer. So once you do that, click it, and we can start the game. So they connected to game server, enter username. This guy over here will be Bob. Username is set. And it says we're connected to the game. So I can move my character around nice. I can come over here, start this one, connect to the game server. It's gonna ask for a name. This guy will be, just say TheKrazyDev. Username is set. And as you can see, over here on this one, player is added, TheKrazyDev, and over here, Bob is added. And if I move on here, it moves our player on this screen. As you can see, the rotation isn't being transferred because we didn't add that as a part of our data packet, but our positional data is being added. As you can see, it's kind of jittery, and that's just because we can't send data super fast. It's just a limitation, and it's not just because TurboWarp sucks or anything. It's just that, again, Wi-Fi does have a delay, so we have to come up with techniques to make it look smoother, which we will be doing. But for now, I'm pretty happy with where we are with this player system. We can move people, pretty cool. Again, not super smooth, but again, we'll fix that later with some latency protection type things. So yeah, that's it. That's really it. Yeah, it's pretty simple. It might seem kind of complicated with all this JSON stuff. If you don't know what JSON is, highly recommend watching a video about it. It's actually pretty simple. Yeah, so it's pretty simple. It is quite a bit of code here, but it's actually not too complicated. I will be making a part 2, and hopefully by then we'll do either guns or collisions or some kind of thing like that. So if you want to see that one, please consider subscribing. Not only does it help me, it also notifies you when that video comes out. Or if you at least found this video helpful, please consider at least liking the video, because it'll put this video out to more people, and more people can find out about CloudLink. Anyways, that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.